Thanks everyone for joining today. My name is Rushi Shah, and I'm Director of Product Management here at YCharts. And we're lucky enough to be joined today by Chris Candela at Schwab. So just a little background on myself. I lead a lot of the integration efforts here at YCharts, and we've had a great year in terms of integration updates. And one of the ones that we're super excited about is the one we've added with Schwab Advisor Center. So with that, Chris, I'll pass it over to you to introduce yourself.
Great, thanks, Rushi. So my name is Chris Candela, and I'm part of Schwab's third-party integrations team. And our team works with vendors such as YCharts, really helping them understand what integration Schwab has available. We help firms come up with an integration strategy, keep vendors up to date about what's new in terms of not only just the integrations, but the Schwab Advisor Center platform. And I'm a relationship manager on that team. And our integration program has really grown over the past couple years. We're up now above 185 participants, and that spans a number of different categories of software platforms, including CRMs, portfolio accounting systems, portfolio analysis such as YCharts. And we're real excited to be right on the cusp of a conversion of TD Ameritrade accounts over to Schwab accounts. And just a little bit of background on that change is that the conversion will happen on Labor Day 2023, and what all the TDA account numbers will essentially become Schwab account numbers on that day. So integrations that were available on the Vail platform, those will not be available, but the versions on Schwab Advisor Center will be available. So advisors will have an equivalent integration after the conversion, the same, equal, or even more integration than they had with Vail before the conversion. And Rishi, you want to go ahead and flip ahead, and I'm going to go ahead and share just an example of some data sharing that we have with Schwab Advisor Center, and then I'll turn it back over to Rushi for an overview of YCharts. Essentially, YCharts can bring in data from the balances screen of Schwab Advisor Center. So info regarding a particular account within YCharts, you'll be able to actually see that info, the same balance info that's available in Schwab Advisor Center. Also, the position data that's available within Schwab Advisor Center is something that you can see from within YCharts. And Rushi is going to give us a demo of that, how it looks within the YCharts platform in a few minutes. And here's what I was going to share, and thank you, Rushi, for pulling this up. So this is the balances screen. You can see on here the margin balance, cash balance. This is where the YCharts platform is pulling in data so that this information can be available in the YCharts platform. And then we've also got the positions tab, which, if you wouldn't mind advancing, Rushi, is right here. So you, of course, you see the security name, symbols, quantity, price, market value. That's an example of data that can be brought into YCharts as well. And by the way, both of those API calls will bring in that data in real time. So the price, when you pull it in through the integration, that is a real-time price. It's not end-of-day data. So Rushi, I'll go ahead. I'll turn it back over to you to talk about the YCharts platform itself.
Awesome. Thanks, Chris. Appreciate that. And just a few more housekeeping before I go into the actual demonstration. A webinar of this recording will be sent to all of you, so stay tuned for that after the webinar. It'll also be on our YouTube channel, so be sure to like and subscribe our channel if you want to see other content that we roll out, all the webinars that we have. You can do that there on the YouTube channel. Also, I did already see a few people jump into that Q&A section. So you'll notice on your Zoom bar, there's a Q&A button. Feel free to throw in questions there, and Chris and I can handle those towards the end of the webinar. So we just saw everything in Schwab, and before I jump into YCharts, I did want to give a quick overview for those of you that maybe were at the Impact Conference last week and didn't get a chance to come by the booth, or you're new to YCharts. Just a quick high level of what YCharts is all about. We are an investment research platform that helps with overall investment research, but also client communication. So those are the two big value adds that we really provide with our platform. A little bit more about how we do that. For financial advisors, they love YCharts because of the fact that we're able to help with AUM growth. We save a ton of time in the advisor's day-to-day workflow, and also just overall better outcomes and client satisfaction. And the way we do that, I like explaining it in a cycle approach here, where you can go through each one of these steps in YCharts or do them all and just repeat that process over and over. And I'll start with the research and analysis part of this, which you can use our screening tools or comp tables tools, which I'll show a little bit of, to really find new investment ideas and do that full deep dive research into data on individual securities. Once you've done that individual security data, we've added a ton of functionality around portfolio construction, which is really where the Schwab integration is adding a ton of value. So you're able to use that integration to import your portfolio holdings from your client accounts, and you're able to create model portfolios on YCharts. Those model portfolios can then be used for proposal and client communication overall to help with your client meetings, to create great visuals that are all firm branded. You can add your colors to your reports and to your charts, which is great. And then you can also get aligned with your client. So using that advisor client alignment to via like side-by-side reports or tear sheets, which we'll take a look at as well. And lastly, YCharts is a great place for market and portfolio monitoring. So, in volatile times like this year, it's great to have a page where you can go to and get all the great and updated info on what's going on in the markets, what's going on in the economy, and also what's going on with your clients' portfolio holdings. So all of that is possible within our platform. So I'm going to jump right in and show a few things here. And I'm going to start on that YCharts dashboard. This is your kind of login page of where you'll see all the great data, and you can customize this page. If you have different model portfolios, you can have those on here. You can get an idea of what's going on with the markets. And you can also resize any of these modules to really make it exactly how you'd like for it to look. From here, just a quick rundown of all the data we have on YCharts. So we have data on stocks, ETFs, mutual funds, SMAs, and lastly, economic indicators. So any of those security types, if you're importing those from Schwab, they will map correctly into YCharts, which is great. And you can get that true allocation and portfolio data from those holdings. I do want to touch on the economic indicators side of things. We have a ton of economic data, which really helps you stay on top of the markets. Things like inflation, Fed funds rates, U.S. unemployment rates, all that important economic data that rolls out and impacts the markets. You can have that all in one place within YCharts. And what we've done over the years is we've taken all of this data and we've built tools around the data. So like I mentioned, we have those screening tools to find new investments. We have tables tools to organize your data in a great way. Then we have great charting tools to visualize any of this data. And we've also added a few different things around portfolios in general, which is really where this integration is adding value. So I'm going to do a quick demo on how to set up the integration, and then we'll go into actually using it during this time. So if you hover over support within your account, you can click on integrations, which is kind of your integration homepage. This is where we have all of our partners listed, and this is where you'll be able to activate your integrations. So the one with Schwab Advisor Center, you could click on manage and click on activate. What this is going to do is it's going to take you to Schwab Advisor Center to log in and then take you back into YCharts. The great thing about that in terms of security is we don't store your login information for Schwab. So we're just using that as a way to authenticate the integration, and then you're able to start importing data. Once you see that active status, you know that you're ready to start using that integration. And really where you can use this integration is within the model portfolios tool right here. So if I click on model portfolios, you'll be able to import holdings here. So I'll click on Schwab. And I did want to spend a few seconds here to touch on how to search for either clients or accounts within Schwab within like this integration in general. So let me just go back to the slides real quick. And the way you can search within YCharts is if you're searching by client, you can either use that client's first name or last name to return all the results of your client. So if you're talking to John, you could just search John and find all the Johns within Schwab Advisor Center in that integration process. There's also, you can also search by account. So if you know your client's account number or account ID and you want to search by that instead, you can use that account search parameter. And you can also search by client's first name, client's last name, or account ID, either one of those three, and you'll be able to get some information here to start importing that. So if you have any questions on that, just reach out to us. We can help you find the best way to search for those accounts to import those. But once you're in that search process, so right here, I'll just go ahead and search for John. And you'll notice you'll get your results. This is all test data in my account, but I'll be able to click on my client that I'm meeting with today, and then I can select the actual account I want to import. So once I click on import, this is going to take you into our model portfolio creation page. So if you're familiar with the integration, we have actually made some updates. One of the ones that recently came out was this new editing process or creation process. And you'll notice that we're actually pulling in dollar values for your portfolio. So the value here is you can actually compare this and make sure, it'll match with Schwab Advisor Center. When you actually create your portfolio, the portfolio's level will match the total of this. So it's nice and pretty, like a pretty seamless process to get your portfolio value into YCharts. So there's a couple other things you could do here as well. If you wanted to change your benchmark to another index or blended model portfolio you've created into YCharts, you can do that here. You can also add an advisory fee in here, which you could do on a monthly, quarterly, or annual basis. And then you could change your rebalance frequency as well. If you're in a model strategy and you're rebalancing that at a certain frequency, you could change that here also. So once you create that model portfolio, and I already created it on my account, this is how it's going to look within the tool. And if you're familiar with YCharts, this is what we call the quote page. So this is where you can get all the information on your portfolio when it comes to like hypothetical performance or risk statistics. You can also look at allocation data. And you have these tabs up here that you can toggle through. So this page has some general information, but for example, if I want to toggle over to allocations, I could get a breakdown of asset allocation, region exposure, bond maturity exposure, et cetera, all that deep data that you'd like for your portfolio to really understand what's under the hood. We also have a holdings page, so you can get a breakdown of what your holdings weights are, how much they've drifted away from your target allocations if you're using those. You can also look at a holdings overlap, which gives you the actual stock and bond underlying holdings in your portfolio. So it helps to understand if you have a big allocation to a single security like this one, you can really see that in that overlap process. Also, we've added ESG data here as well from MSCI. So if you wanted an ESG breakdown of your portfolio, you could see that here as well. So it's a lot of data on your portfolios. And one thing that advisors that are using this integration love is also taking it the next step and really understanding some of the data for your portfolio. And I love showing this using the quick flows menu here on the right. So this quick flows menu is essentially one-click workflows that we found advisors loving to do. And we created them into easy to find workflows rather than having to build everything from scratch. So I'm looking at this John Smith portfolio that I've imported, and I want to quickly look at what's going on with the holdings. And I could click through these and see maybe what the trailing returns of my holdings are. So I click on that quick flow, and now I could see all these different time frames to understand, if my client calls me and says, hey, what's going on year to date? What's down quite a bit? What's holding up my portfolio? You can quickly get that underlying data. Next, you can go back to it, and maybe you want to talk through risk and reward. You can use a risk reward scatter plot and really understand, where my portfolio is versus my benchmark and where those underlying holdings are too. So this might be helpful if there's a stock or fund in your portfolio and you want to talk about risk versus reward. It's helpful to see that within this visual. The last kind of workflow I'll show within this process is the process of using YCharts as almost like a sandbox or a place where you can test out portfolio changes and see how that makes the portfolio look. So let's say, for example, I'm looking at John Smith's portfolio and I've looked at the trailing returns, and I noticed that one of my holdings has been down quite a bit and I want to replace that holding. So I'm looking at this portfolio and I noticed that one of my funds, which is this EWH, is down quite a bit and I want to maybe replace that ETF. So what I could do is actually go back into this quick flows menu, and rather than looking at the portfolio, I could just look at EWH. Now I could start finding a different alternative. So maybe I want to look at this portfolio is down quite a bit, so let's find some other ones that are ranked better in their category. So I'm able to click again and find some other holdings that are pretty similar but just ranked better, which will help me kind of understand if I want to swap that security out for this one. So as this loads, what it's going to show me is it's going to show me those similar holdings, or sorry, similar funds with those rankings. So now I can compare and contrast the two. All right, so looks like I have some results of similar funds, and this top one, let's say we want to use this to replace it. So what I can do now is within my model portfolios tool, I can use that portfolio that I've imported from Schwab, and then I could also duplicate it and create the same one with that swapped out holding. So now I have these two portfolios. They're pretty similar with just that one change in them to understand what's going on. And I can use some comparison views to compare and contrast that portfolio versus that swapped out holding. So now I can kind of go through the same process of looking at performance of the two portfolios over time, and I could see the clear difference in performance. And this is all back, looking back. So hindsight is one thing, but it's nice to look at that information and understand how you can position your portfolio. I'm not going to click through any more here, but you could see maybe taxes are on your mind right now with the year ending. You could look at a tax adjusted return comparison if you wanted to, risk comparison, different allocation data, et cetera. So there's a lot of data here, and hopefully you're seeing the value of having all that at your fingertips to really dig deeper into that portfolio that you have with your client. The last thing that's great about these portfolios that you've imported from Schwab is all our PDF reports. So I'll touch on two of them. One is our tear sheet, which I heard was a great hit at the Schwab conference last week. At our booth, a lot of people loved this tear sheet. And the reason is because it's just a quick view of your portfolio, understanding all the data that we just showed you within the tool, all in one page, which is great. So you can view that data all here. And then we also have that comparison or side-by-side view. So this is those two portfolios I talked about, one with those swapped out holdings and your current portfolio. So you can sit down with John and say, hey, you know what, our allocation is not changing, but our performance, our risk, our country exposure, those types of things did change. So it's a great report to just take two portfolios side by side and compare and contrast them together. So I'm going to stop there. I know I went through a lot, but there's a lot within YCharts, so it's great to show as much as I can. But I think, Chris, at this point, we could take some questions here.
Yeah, sounds good. And actually, I'll grab the first one. And this one comes from Eric. He says, I'm new, but we use Orion and I'm integrated with Orion. So is it okay to also be integrated with Schwab, which is the custodian we use? So the quick answer to that is yes, our integrations are exclusive to each platform, but they do not exclude you from integrating with two or more platforms. So you can use the YCharts and Schwab integration. If you use Orion, you can use the integration between Schwab and Orion, and so on and so forth with the other platforms that integrate with Schwab. So they are exclusive, one-to-one Schwab to the platform, but you can use multiple platforms with Schwab integration at the same time.
Yeah, and same thing on the YChart side. Like you can authenticate both Orion and Schwab if you wanted to use both. They're both available within the tool. I'm also seeing a question from Michael that said, do you have a higher subscription to have integrations? So the integrations are available for all YCharts professional users, which tends to be the advisor subscription license. So you should have access to that. And if you don't, Michael, just feel free to reach out to us and we can talk to you about your subscription. I see another question from Jill asking, can you import more than one account to build a model portfolio for a client household with multiple accounts? The answer is yes. So you can actually household accounts together. So if you're clicking through if you have the account IDs, that could be a pretty easy way to do it and multi-select the two. Or if you click on an account and, a client, and once you click on the client, it takes you to all the underlying accounts. And from there, you'll be able to multi-select if you want two of those or three of those accounts and put them together into one portfolio.
Rushi, if you don't mind, I'll take the next one here. It comes from an attendee who's asking, has there been testing to ensure the link between YCharts and Schwab does not present risks of data leaks? The answer to that is yes. So any integrations that we work on with third-party vendors, there is a formal development process, and part of that process includes security testing on the code. And then furthermore, when we enter into a new relationship with a vendor, there is a very lengthy due diligence process that we go through with that vendor. For this exact purpose, to make sure that advisors' data that's being housed at Schwab is exchanged securely.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. And yeah, just to add to that and reiterate, within YCharts, we're not storing any login information, any PII data. All of that is masked when it comes over to YCharts, and it's all hypothetical data based on your holdings and weights. So none of that data is exposed.
And Rishi, I'm going to put you on the spot here. I think the first question was about Veo integration. Do you want to talk for a second about how you guys use TDA data from Veo One, whether that's available or how you interact with that platform?
Yeah, I could take that one. So currently our Veo integration is just a single sign-on or SSO integration. So you won't be able to use that currently with being able to import client account data. So I think, Chris, you touched a bit on that Schwab conversion happening. And once that happens, that opens up the door to having a lot more of that Schwab data within the Advisor Center integration. So you'll be able to use that in the future.
Yeah, and to add to that, so YCharts already has a single sign-on with Schwab as well, so there's equal integration at this point. But this is a perfect example of what I mentioned before about advisors getting an equal or better integration experience after the conversion. So for those of you who currently don't custody with Schwab, but do custody with TDA, Once that conversion happens, you'll immediately be able to take advantage of YCharts Schwab integration, because those TDA account numbers will become Schwab account numbers, and that'll be ready to go for you within YCharts. So perfect example of one of the many benefits that TDA advisors are going to be getting from this account conversion and the acquisition by Schwab.
Awesome. Another question I'm seeing in here is, can you do a mass import of clients all at once? You can't do a mass import, and the reason why, or the reasoning behind why we chose to do it that way, is because we wanted the data to be completely up to date. And I did actually want to touch on that. So if I have a client portfolio within YCharts, I can actually refresh that portfolio by using this refresh imported holdings. So it is like a one-time process to pull in those accounts into YCharts, but once they're in there, and let's say it's a month or two later and you want to re-look at that portfolio and you've made changes to it within Schwab, once you hit refresh, it takes you through this process. It remembers the exact account that you're pulling in, and it'll re-import it. So that way it's up to date when you're looking at it. So it's more of an on-the-fly integration, and hopefully you've seen how quick it is to pull in that data. So there is no like bulk upload process. And then I'm also seeing another question here from Nick on, if you take a household approach to investing, can you import multiple accounts from Schwab and then make one portfolio in YCharts to analyze? The answer is yes, you can do that. So we call that model portfolio sleeves. So when you're creating that portfolio, you'll actually be able to, your holdings can actually be other portfolios. So if you pull in John Smith's IRA account, and then they also have another like brokerage account or something like that, and you import both of those separately into YCharts so that you can look at them separately. You could also at the same time combine those into one portfolio in YCharts. So now they're acting as holdings in that overall portfolio. Lauren had a question about how to get to the tear sheet. So if I'm in YCharts here, and right here in the top right, you'll see this report button. So if you click on that report button, we have the three options here: overview, comparison, and tear sheets. So within here, you could click on tear sheets and click on one page report, and that'll be the one that I showed right here. And then I'll answer one more, and it's about performance in general, and whether it's like accurate performance or including transactions over time. The answer is it's not going to include those transactions. So it is all point in time holdings. We do have a type of portfolio called dynamic model portfolios, where you can actually make those allocation changes over time. However, for these integrations, it's more of a snapshot type of view within YCharts. So it is going to just use those current holdings and take those back into history. I think that's all of them for the time being. If there's any more I'm missing here, we could definitely reach out to you and get you some answers. Chris, were there any others in here that you wanted to cover?
No, I think that's it.
Cool. Awesome. Well, thanks everyone for joining. This was great. I'm hoping that all of you saw the great value in this integration and some of the new things that we've added to it. Just a few reminders here: the recording will be sent to you. Also, all advisors at custody at Schwab receive 20% off your YCharts subscription. So if you're interested, please come check us out and reach out to us. You can either start a free trial or chat in on YCharts, and we'll be able to give you a demonstration of the tool. And yeah, I think that's it. So thanks everyone for joining today. And Chris, thanks a lot for joining as well.
Yeah, my pleasure.
All right. Thank you, everyone.